Good morning, Griffin Radio.
Good morning.
It is 10:20, and just a little bit late, we are going to be getting started on this week's edition of Sammy's Never Seen.
Nice. Well, I can't hear myself at all.
You can't?
No, I
can
think
hear
my
you.
headphones are turned down too low.
Your
My
headphones. Okay.
But I will say before we start, so last week I was given by the wonderful Eric the assignment to, there we go. Hello, I'm here.
Yay.
The assignment to watch Cabin in the Woods.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have to ask you before I get into my analogy, if you can give me back the 2.5 hours of my time that I wasted watching this horrific movie put together. It was really, honestly, this was probably the worst movie that I've seen this semester.
Wow.
With this bit that we do.
Wow. Okay.
I had my husband, because he wakes up earlier than I do, and I had him drink a Red Bull so he would watch it with me. Mm-hmm. Which was totally pointless because there was nothing scary about this movie whatsoever. I mean, it was very gory. Mm-hmm. The fakest gore I've ever seen in my life, but it was very gory, but Fair enough. Was so cheesy. And I feel like it was a sequel to The Hunger Games in horror film version. That's exactly what it was to me. And we had Danielle, which is the other person that's normally here with us. She'll be back in a minute.
She's running out doing very important studio
very
or
important
station
radio
business.
Stuff.
Yes.
And she texted me last night too. She's like, "Are you watching this dumb movie?" And I said, "Yes." And then she said, "I think I might fall asleep."
And then she did.
Right. And then she did. And I said, "Yeah." I was like, "It's pretty bad." And then she goes, "I'm only like 10 minutes in." And I was like, "Girl, I'm like an hour into this movie." And she was like, "You're the real MVP. I can't do this."
Okay. I would, before you start in, the reason that I suggested this is because last week when you were talking about Halloween 2, mm-hmm. you were talking about how all of the standard horror movie stuff was happening in that, like the people being killed or like the guy being kind of supernatural, and the people getting killed randomly, and just sorry.
I think the storyline just killed it because I'm terrified of horror films, so I can understand why.
Sorry. Before we go further, sorry, we forgot to do this. The views, comments, and opinions expressed on this show are those of individuals and not necessarily shared by Griffin Radio, the
Definitely
Media
true.
Communications Department, Grossmont College, or the Grossmont-Cuyamaca Community College District.
I'm sure they do not have the same views as me.
Well, they might. I mean, other people might not.
They
like
might,
this
but
film.
we don't endorse it here.
Yeah. But anyways, the reason that I suggested it is because you were talking about how cheesy and predictable all of these things were that were happening in the movie.
And this movie was perfect to be cheesy and predictable.
Yeah, well, and it's not just that, but it's commenting about those tropes. That's the whole point of the movie.
And it hits like every single aspect. I get that.
And it does it intentionally.
I get it. And I see why you suggested it, especially because I stress that I'm severely terrified by horror films, and that's not an exaggeration by any means. So I can understand somebody recommending movies like that, like, hey, watch this because it's supposed to be, but it's more cheesy gore than like actual terrified thriller type, so I can understand that. But yeah, it was really bad. I could have watched that by myself in the dark.
all right, so let's get one of the patented Sammy J recaps.
Absolutely. So the movie starts out very stereotypical for a horror film, which I know that it all makes sense at the end because they do recap the stereotypical. So you have like the dumb jock, and then you have the what is the word that I'm looking for? Adulthood blonde. Is that the right word? Did I say that?
The what?
Commits adultery. Blonde. I'm trying to use a proper word.
The blonde didn't commit adultery with anybody.
I'm just trying to say instead of like the word that the guy calls her in the beginning, because I don't think I could say that on air. I'm trying to be a little bit more.
You can say whore on air.
Okay, so the whore blonde.
Yeah.
Okay. So you have the dumb jock, the whore blonde, and then you have like the innocent, like kind of cautious girl, right? You have the stoner guy, and then of course, to make a stereotypical horror movie, you're gonna have a black guy. But in order to not follow stereotypes, he can't be full black, so he's gonna be half black, right? So this is what makes up the group. And this group they go on a trip to like the jock's cousin's cabin, right, that they bought. So they're on the way up there, and on the way up there, they stop at a gas station. The guy tries to warn them, but it's all within this plot from like the government to keep these gods that used to own the earth, to rule the earth, to keep them happy, because you have to make sacrifices. And it has to consist of these 5 elements, characters, all together, right? So, so they get to this cabin, which, mind you, they get to the cabin. It's this tiny little rinky-dink cabin. It's really small, and they get in. It's like this big cabin. Like, it has so much space, which is not, it does not match the outside whatsoever.
It's
so
bigger on the inside.
Yeah, it's way bigger on the inside. Like, good job, production. See, I have to, like, nitpick everything. Like, this isn't real. And so they're hanging out, which, by the way, the stoner that pulls up before they get into the trip, sorry, I don't mean to jump everywhere, but these five people take a motorhome to go to a cabin. Why are you taking a motorhome that you camp in to go camp in a cabin? Already doesn't make any sense, right? But of course, the stoner has to be the most accurate and smartest person out of the group. So he pulls up in his little like station wagon right before they're about to leave, where they're loading into the motorhome that's pointless. Why do you need a motorhome? I don't know. So he pulls up and he's got this huge like 3-foot bong coffee mug. If I were a stoner, I want that. Like, that is what I want. He pulls up and he's just smoke, and the top part looks like a coffee mug, and it collapses like it's collapsible. It's the coolest thing I've ever seen. I want one. Like, I want one now. I would buy one. Please, somebody tell me where to buy one. I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, I'm sure that you can just type in
collapsible
cabin in the woods, collapsible bong.
Yeah, I'm going to on break.
Hits.
I'm gonna look for it, and if it is, I will buy it. Just to buy it, because it's probably one of the coolest props that I've ever seen. So he pulls out. Okay, so anyway, so they get into the motorhome. They go to the cabin. They're in the cabin. They're all hanging out. They're playing Truth or Dare. First of all, these are like college kids, but they has to make it kind of like high school, because the dumb jock is wearing a Letterman jacket, which, I mean, I don't see anybody walk around in a Letterman jacket anymore. Like, that's a very high school thing to do.
Well, it's also, we are at I not knowing much about the actual, university
I've been
lifestyle.
to universities, and I've been to fraternity parties. Nobody wears a Letterman jacket.
There's no, like, fraternity letter or fraternity jacket or anything like that?
No, that's not a thing. At least
but
not
there's, like,
here.
fraternity sweaters. I mean, like, there's...
Yeah,
there
but it's not
clothes
like
that has,
a
like,
traditional jacket with the big letter E that's blue, and it's got the stripes down the side.
Okay.
Like, definitely not. So anyway, so this kid's in a Letterman jacket. Mind you, they're in, like, college. And they're playing Truth or Dare, of all things to play. Like, I'm sorry, if we're... Okay, let's just say our entire class goes and we're camping at a cabin. We're going to be playing beer pong and drinking games and flip cup. We are not playing Truth or Dare. Right? It's not happening. So they're playing Truth or Dare. They end up in this basement, right? And in this so it's all like predicting their fate, how they're going to die. So they get the basement door flies open. Okay, realistically, if I'm in a cabin and the basement floor flies open, nobody's going down there. You know what we're doing? We're shutting that ish. We're putting a couch on top of it, and we're going to continue to play our stupid Truth or Dare that we're doing. Nobody's going to be walking down there. So in my whole thing, if they never walked down there, would they still be alive?
Yeah, they would be.
They would. They're idiots. Well, they have to be idiots.
The guys in the control room even said, we just provide the choices. They're the ones that make the choice. They can choose not to choose.
Right. So totally like the Hunger Games, because everything's manipulated. They're sitting back there. They're making wagers on who's going to win, even though they control the whole situation. The elements are controlled, their temperature is controlled, everyth's controlled, which is so dumb. It's like Hunger Games. It really is. It's like Hunger Games. You put 5 in there, you see who survives, or if anybody does, or whoever makes it. It's so dumb. So they go down to the basement. They start playing with all these knickknacks. This lady starts reading a diary, the like timid, like the virgin aspect one, whatever. So she starts reading this passage, but you can't read it in Italian, because if you read it in Italian, it's going to rise the zombies from the dead, okay, that don't die. Like, no matter what, you could cut their head off and they're not dying, which doesn't make any sense, because it contradicts The Walking Dead, and The Walking Dead is a lot more realistic. So
that is a much more realistic movie about the dead walking the earth.
If that were to ever happen, that's how it would happen. I guarantee you. It made my husband a prepper. I'm not even kidding. The Walking Dead made my husband a prepper. I blame them.
Oh, made him a prepper.
A prepper, yeah. Okay. Like waiting for the zombie apocalypse to happen. So she reads this passage, the zombie, exactly, right? The zombies come up, and they're like trying to get into the house. So everybody's basically getting attacked. The jockey and the whore blonde go out, and they start doing their thing in the forest, right?
I'm sorry, you called him the jockey.
I'm sorry. The dumb jock, not the jockey. He's not riding any horses over here. But yeah, so they run out into the woods.
You could just say Thor, because that's Thor.
Yeah, he's not as cute in that movie though.
Well, because he doesn't have the long flowing locks.
Yeah, which is true.
And this was actually, even though it was released,
I think it was before, right?
It was released the same year as Avengers, but it was made actually before he made Thor.
Right. It looks like it because he looks younger
Yeah.
too. Which also, I mean, that could be special effects, whatever. So yeah, so him and his girlfriend run out. Thor and the whore blonde run out.
Thor and the whore.
Thor and the whore run out into the forest in the middle of the night to go get their freak on, right? And she's not into it, so they're like, release the pheromones, right? So you see smoke coming from the floor. I'm sorry, if it's midnight and it is pitch black and I'm in a forest, I'm pretty sure I'm going to be able to see smoke rising from the bottom. Like, and then it's like she's possessed, right? She smells this and she's like, let's do it now. Like, and then the zombie comes out with like a bear claw, grabs him, grabs her. It's this huge gory mess. Comes in, so they're basically all dying off, right? A couple of them get away. Of course, it's got to be like the intimidated girl, because a girl has to survive, right? She has to survive. And then you have the stereotypical black guy, but he's like the smarts one. I don't really know what his role is. But they're together. They try to escape with the Thor, right? And then Thor gets onto like okay, this was funny too. So they're going through the tunnel. The tunnel isn't closed, so the government's freaking out. And so the tunnel falls down, and they're like, oh my gosh, what do we do? And so Thor was like, I could take this motorcycle, my dirt bike, and I could jump this. I've done bigger things. It's a flat surface. I don't know how he thinks he's jumping anything with no ramp, but it is like a flat cliff. And he's like, I'm going to jump this 15-foot cliff over here. And so he tries. So he gets like momentum going, right? And it's like the worst special effects ever. He's like flying up in it looks like E.T. flying through the moon. That's what he looks like on this dirt bike. And then he hits like this barrier, like Hunger Games to the T. This little honeycomb looking barrier lights up. And the first thing that this girl and guy, the other ones that were with him, are thinking is, oh my god, my friend died. But you're not thinking like that wall just lit up and it's not a mountain, but it's actually a screen. Like, that's where I would be going. But they're not thinking that. They're like, oh my god, my friend just died. What are we gonna do? You know, like, come on. But I mean, honestly, like, if I rode a dirt bike and died,
okay,
but I saw a backlight, like trees right there, and instead of you going through the trees, I see the trees reflect and you can clearly tell it's a computer screen, I think I'd be more concerned on what the hell that was than you going down the cliff. I mean, you're dead. Sorry, goodbye. I'll have a funeral for you later. But I need to figure out what's going on and where I'm at, because this is not the real world. And I'm sorry, why weren't they Yelping this place before? Like, that's what I would do. I'd be researching everything. Where am I going? Is there 5-star reviews? Is there breakfast in bed? Is there zombies coming to your window? What's going on over in this area? You know? No, nobody did the research. Of course not. Of course not, because nobody gets out. So nobody's going to Yelp it, right? So, yeah. So the two people get away. They're driving. The guy who's driving, the one who's left, gets like cut in the throat when he's driving. It's like, dead. Okay. And then she like somehow, so she meets up with the stoner, obviously, because the stoner's the smartest one in the bunch. And meets up with the stoner, and then they take it's all kind of a blur because it was so dumb. But they ended up they go back down into the into the grave. They go into the grave from where the zombies came up from, take them down. It's an elevator. Oh no, now they are trapped in between all of these monsters that the government has created on like their fate, right? So they're seeing everything, they're figuring it out. They get down to the government, they hide into the security room because they see the government people trying to come, and she's trying to explain to them like, it's part of a bigger thing, you're trying to save the world, we have to kill you, you're a sacrifice to the gods. And they're like, I'm about to hide in this control room and release all these monsters up on you, government officials who deserve it. And they do, and then it becomes this whole gory mess. All the government officials die, and then what happens after that? I told you, it's a huge mess. And then, somehow they get saved. I don't remember. But, no. They throw the government people down. The government people, the lady, and one of the monsters, they throw them down. Hopefully that sacrifice would be sufficient, which it wasn't. And then it, it ended so stupid, too. There was not a very good ending to this movie. I don't really remember. I just remember it ending after that. It ended, and I remember going, what the F was that? What did I just watch? And what is the conclusion? So that's basically what I took away from Cabin in the Woods. Please don't ever. I feel like I wasted my life. I would not spend $2.99 or 99 cents at Netflix trying to rent this movie. Absolutely not. It was probably one of the worst movies I've ever seen in my life.
Okay.
Danielle, what did you think about the 20 minutes?
Well, I fell asleep, so, but my experience was a little bit different because I couldn't find it anywhere. I didn't want to pay for it, so I was, like, streaming it off this website, and it was, like, this tiny little box. Like, it wouldn't go full screen, and the volume was really weird. But honestly, it was just really dumb. Like, I couldn't, it was boring me, which is probably why I fell asleep.
Can you recap what you saw? What did you see?
She said she saw like the first 20 minutes.
No,
of
I
it,
know. So I want to hear your analogy of what happened in the 20 minutes that you watched it.
Well, it's just the first 20 minutes of the movie. They were like in their apartment or something, and dumb comments were made, and then they looked at a book, and that was cool. And then they like are going out to go in the, what's it called, the RV.
Yeah.
And the stoner kid pulls up, which actually that part was kind of entertaining because that was really funny. Like, I was like, hey, that kid, he knows. Okay. And then I don't think I watched them actually drive to the thing. I think I was looking at my phone or something. But I did see them go through like a tunnel. That was cool. And then they show up at this creepy cabin, which, in my opinion, if you get there and you see this cabin and it looks the way it looked, why would you stay? Like, why wouldn't you leave like right then and there? Like, I would have left, honestly. That's just me, but go for it.
I'll tell you, the second that I saw that cabin from the outside and walked in, it was way bigger on the inside than it was on the outside. I would have known something funky was up, and I would have left. Yeah. But yeah, so why do you like that movie? Just out of curiosity, what made you pick that movie? Like, yes, that is the movie I'm gonna have Sam watch this week.
I picked that movie because the movie is this big. I'm not like trying to be, throw my knowledge of this type of stuff around, but it's basically this big commentary on horror movies and on the tropes of horror movies.
So
okay,
before you continue,
yes.
I just want to say really quick, the way that you watch movies and interpret them and the way I watch movies and interpret them are so, you look at such which is a good thing. It's a good thing. You look at like the analytical standpoint of it and see like what other factors go into it. And like you look deeper, like for example, Young Frankenstein, like you knew that was obviously a comedy. I didn't. But you knew it was like.
Because of who it was made
whatever.
by. It was made by Mel Brooks.
It just goes to show how much I don't know about movies. But you knew like it took all these little factors from other movies and put it together. And same thing with Cabin in the Woods. You're saying that it was taking other horror films and like the typical streamlined horror film, what you typically see, and they incorporated it into this, which I think is really cool because you look at it from a way different standpoint than I do.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
But what? Okay, so think about it like. First off, just want to put this in your ear, in your head. All right, think about what they described as the gods. Okay, the gods need.
They were just evil gods, right?
Hold on, let me finish. The gods need sacrifice. They need that sacrifice to come from 5 specific people: the whore, the athlete, or the warrior. I forget what they called him. The scholar, the fool, and the virgin. They want all of these people, they want them to die in specific order. Well, not necessarily specific order, but the whore has to be first, the virgin has to be last.
Right.
If they don't get this in this specific order, they will rise up and destroy the world.
Right.
Okay. They're horror movie fans. The gods are horror movie fans.
Okay.
It's basically the whole point of Cabin in the Woods is for Joss Whedon, who is the guy who directed the first 2 Avengers movies and made Buffy the Vampire Slayer and made Angel, Firefly, all this amazing television and movies and stuff. It was him doing this commentary on the horror genre and horror fans specifically, and how if horror fans and fans in general, but horror fans specifically, don't get exactly what they want out of a movie, they go crazy and they tear the movie down and they like say, this is the worst thing ever because it didn't give me exactly what I wanted.
Right. Which makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're relating the people to the gods and that you have to give them what they want, otherwise they're going to come up and destroy the world, they're not even getting exactly what they want. They're getting something similar to what they want. Because, for example, in the end, you had the virgin, and even the virgin was like, I'm the virgin, and they're
Yeah.
like, well, we work with what we got, you
Yeah,
know.
exactly.
So it's like it's not even. But see, if this were real, and you had gods who wanted specific sacrifices, otherwise they're going to come up and destroy the world, they would want an actual virgin. They would want an actual jock, which they had, supposedly, according to the movies. They would want a whore.
Oh, yeah,
blonde.
because Liam Hemsworth doesn't qualify as a jock.
No, he does. That's what I'm saying.
Apparently, according to the movie.
Yeah, well, I mean, according to his character,
Mm-hmm.
his character portrays a legitimate, like, he plays sports,
Yeah.
right? And his girlfriend, because she is blonde, which she was a newly colored blonde girl, which doesn't make any sense because you would think you'd want, like, a dumb blonde who's been blonde forever, and she's dumb. But she was, like, automatically deemed the whore, but she had a boyfriend, and she was pretty well, she was kind of risque during the truth or dare going on, but
Which was
I
because
mean,
of the manipulations of the people in the control room.
exactly. So she wasn't the true whore that the gods were looking for.
Exactly.
Neither was the virgin.
Exactly.
So no matter what, even if they all died, the gods are going to rise and destroy the earth.
No, they got the fantasy. They were getting like the play put on for them.
Right.
It didn't matter what the actual reality was, just as long as what they were seeing right there was what they wanted.
Yeah, it was just weird.
I know. I know. It's very weird.
It was just can you agree with me though that was like the Hunger Games but in a horror film?
I hadn't honestly thought about it like that, but I can see where you can make that.
Oh my gosh,
parallel.
I thought about that. Like as soon as I saw the control room and the people, and like they were doctors, and they're like, "Oh, let's wager on these people." Like I was like, "This is the Hunger Games." They are putting these kids in a group to fight for their lives, for their own entertainment, and it's all governmentally ran, just like the Hunger Games. Although the Hunger Game was put together way better, way better. But yeah, so it was. Nothing to talk about for 25 minutes.
Nothing to talk about. Just did not enjoy. Would not watch again.
Never
0
in
out
my
of,
life.
0 out of 4 stars.
Never in
would
my
not.
life.
Would not. What is it? Fire stick? Would not fire stick again.
Oh, definitely not. That shouldn't even be an option on Fire Stick. Like, just don't waste your life. That's what the caption should be. It should be like Cabin in the Woods, parentheses, don't waste your life. And then, 2 hours or whatever it is. So yeah, it was really bad. It was probably one of the worst films I've ever in my life seen. Ever in my life.
All right, good to know. Good to know. All right, so we are going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to play a little bit of music. We got Beggin' and Pleadin' by Brandy.
Can we not?
Okay, what would you like to play?
What do we have on there? I don't mind some Coldplay.
Some Coldplay?
Or
Okay.
Iron Maiden's not bad.
Yeah,
Just that Beggin' and Pleadin' song I feel like is
we've played it a lot.
It's begging and pleading too much to go on air. I'm over it.
All right, so we'll do Adventure of a Lifetime by Coldplay, followed up by Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden, and then we will be back to talk about what we're going to see next week. So stick around. And that was Number of the Beast by Iron Maiden.
And we're back.
We are back, and we have Danielle and we have Richard in the studio. He's really far away, so
he's observing us.
He is not going to come in and talk, but he might throw out some suggestions for our final Halloween movie for DJ Sammy J.
Woo! So we've been researching this, and before we get into it, I want to shout out one of my favorite radio people, Rodney. Just called in to let us know he wants to hear Beggin' and Pleadin' and some Kanye West, which
it will come up after this. We
are going to play afterwards. Kanye's not my fave. He knows this.
You only got to listen to us jabber on for about 5 more minutes, Rodney.
Yep. So I'm trying to look up these Halloween movies to watch that's not going to make me go to the bathroom in my pants. But I can't find any. So you suggested...
I suggested
Nightmare on Elm Street 2?
Yeah, Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2.
What is Friday the 13th?
Friday the 13th is hockey mask with a machete.
I want to watch that.
Okay.
I'm going to watch... So wait, hold on. Before I confirm this, is that a scary movie?
Yes.
But I mean, is it like a Halloween scary movie or like a House of a Thousand Corpses scary movie?
Halloween scary movie.
Oh, cool. I could do that.
Okay.
I could do that. See, as I'm getting older, I'm getting a little more mature and I'm able to handle the scare a little bit.
Now,
still can't fully commit to like the Rob Zombie movies and stuff, but I'm putting my feet in the water. So
see, Rob Zombie movies are like, they're a completely different beast when it comes to horror movies.
What do you mean by that?
Well, okay, so you've got within horror, there's like a bunch of different genres. There's a bunch of different subgenres of horror. Horror itself is its own category, but then within it, you've got things like The Exorcist, which is all about.
But I've heard that's a really, really scary movie.
It is a very scary movie, but it's.
But what makes it scary? The concept of it, or like the jump out spooky?
Well, okay.
part?
There's a lot of stuff that it's a lot of different things. I mean, like. Jump scares have become what you're talking about, like the jump out scary part, which is usually like something sudden happening on screen with a musical sting of like
right, and comes
happening.
out of nowhere type thing.
That's a jump scare, and that has become in a lot of ways in a lot of modern movie making. That's taken the place of horror and fright. It's just like
because
it
gives you that
over and over again.
It gives you that jolt of adrenaline,
exactly.
And then it goes away, and you kind of laugh about it, like, oh, that was funny. Although I can't deal with the like massive gore either. Like, I mean, like, okay, for example, in Halloween, that's Michael Myers, right?
Yeah.
In Halloween, he comes up with a knife, right? And he's like, "Ugh, I stabbed you to the wall." Like, that's fine. But when they're like cutting him open and taking the intestines out and like Saw, like not happening.
Yeah. See,
not happening.
That is another type of horror movie that's one that has come out that rose up, it started out before, but it very much rose up with the Saw franchises. It's torture porn, is what it's called.
Why is it?
Because it's not torture porn in that it's not called that in that it's supposed to.
Oh, not in a sexualized way. I got what you're saying.
It's like it's gratuitous in the way that pornography is.
Right.
It's like. Look at all of this stuff. Look at these people going through these horrible things. Oh.
Right. I think people who like those movies are so demented in the head. Like, they need to go to a therapist. You're like, I'm one of those people.
No, I don't. I enjoy. I like the. This is so weird. This is actually going to sound like I'm saying I read Playboy for the articles, but I like the plot of the Saw films. Like the plot that goes throughout them all, which is about
There's something wrong with you.
It's about this guy who, went through a traumatic experience.
So he wants to traumatize other people? That is called...
Oh, no, he's insane.
Psychosis.
He's insane.
Yeah, he's crazy.
I am not denying the fact that the guy is insane. That's,
But the plot interests you.
But the plot interests me. Like...
I see where you're... Okay. I see where you're coming from. I kind of agree in the way, because Saw's not a bad movie. It's not. I mean, there's a reason why I've seen Saw 2. I think that's the only 2 that I've seen. But there's a reason why they have sequels, because people like them, because the plot is very good. Well, versus like Cabin in the Woods was the worst plot ever. Thank you for telling me it was a good movie, by the way, Richard.
Don't
we can't get into that again. But so the plot was bad on Cabin in the Woods versus the plot for Saw was a lot better. However, the gore and stuff that went along with it is not my cup of tea.
Not myself either.
Okay.
But it is. Sorry, it's something that. The other reason that those movies keep getting made sequels of is because they're cheap.
Okay.
Reason
gore and blood is cheap.
Because doing the effects is cheap. Because doing think about all those movies. The majority, like Saw. Think about Saw. That movie took place in about maybe at the most 10 locations.
You think so? Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
that makes
10
sense.
locations. Like every time they did a room.
But I feel like that was probably a high, not a high grossing movie, but a high.
A high.
It was a high grossing movie. No, I know they made profit off of it, but the production, it seems like that wasn't a cheap movie to make.
No, that was a fairly cheap movie to make.
I could see the first one, but I think after you get to the first one,
hold on 1 second.
Well, we got 2 minutes, so I'm counting down for you.
I know, 2 minutes.
But yeah, I think that once you get into sequels and you get into like, Saw 2 and 3 and 4, I think they put more movie into the production because they know it's going to be a bigger hit, so they want it to be a better movie. So more people see it, and I think that's happened. That happens to the
budget of the original film, $1.2 million, which is
pretty cheap,
incredibly cheap.
Indie film cheap.
Box office, 103.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah,
that's crazy.
Yeah, see, and that's the thing with like all horror movies. That's the reason that they keep getting made. It's why Westerns were the most profitable genre for for Hollywood back in the day because
Right.
they just kept churning out all these things that were going
Kept using
on.
the same backdrop at
Same
Universal
backdrop,
Studios that you can
same-
tour now.
Same places
The
out
same
in
neighborhood.
same places out in the desert, same places out in Italy for the spaghetti westerns. They were
Right.
using the same type of stuff, and so it was really cheap. But
Makes
anyways,
sense.
so
So I've came to discover,
mhm,
doing these shows,
Mhm.
that type of horror and the plot and stuff is not for me. I'm more into like the 80s. Well, I'm
mhm.
not into any horror films, but if I had to choose one, it would be more of like the 80s cheesy style. Michael Myers was good.
Yeah.
Those type of movies are cool, but I can't get into any more like gory and crazy than that. So I think that Friday the 13th is a very good.
So you want to do
Option.
you want to do the original Friday the 13th?
Do you think I should do the original Friday the 13th?
It's got Kevin Bacon in it.
It does.
It's got
I'm
a,
just
it's got
saying
a, it's got a
Like,
nice
I
little
knew
slice
that.
of bacon.
Which
Okay.
I'm sure he's not bad to look at, especially back in the 80s. He's a little
Mhm.
older now, but
All right. So
do
we've
you
got
think that
either
the original
that.
is good?
The original is very good. The original does not have the hockey mask serial killer or the hockey mask killer. That guy, he comes in the second movie.
So what does the serial killer look like in the first one?
You'll have to see.
Does he have a face?
You'll have to see.
No, wait.
You'll
Does he
have
a
to
mask on?
see.
I hate these cliffhangers. This is like a radio show cliffhanger. I'm not kidding.
It's a
Okay.
radio show cliffhanger, quite literally. So you're gonna do Friday the 13th.
Yeah, or you were gonna have another suggestion.
The other thing I was gonna say was or Elm Street or Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2. Because, like I said, that one is just it's campy, it's
Ugh.
funny, it's trying to be horror, it's like reaching for horror, but it's falling short.
So, did you know
Mm-hmm.
next Tuesday?
Mm-hmm.
Oh no! We have 2 weeks left till Halloween. You're crazy.
No.
Yes,
Halloween is
it's the
is
18th,
Halloween is 2 weeks from Monday.
which was yesterday.
Yeah.
So
So
okay,
the day
13 days,
after-
pretty much 2 weeks.
So the day after that is going to be the 1st of November.
So we have next week, which
Mhm.
I will do. Which one am I doing? Friday the 13th.
You're going to do Friday the 13th next week.
And
okay.
then I can come in Tuesday, which will be the day after Halloween, and I will let you know. Well, we'll discuss on Tuesday, but I'll watch one more horror film,
Okay.
and we'll discuss it on Tuesday, which would be November 1st. And
All
then we'll
right.
get into some nicer movies.
All right. Yes. Yeah,
Cool.
we'll get into some nicer movies for the holidays.
Sounds good. So thanks, everybody, for
All right.
listening.
Thanks,
Up
everybody.
next, we have
Begging and
Begging
pleading
and
for
Pleading.
by Brandy for former alumnus DJ Rodney.
A-Rod.
A-Rod,
Just Rod?
come out.
No, it's Notorious R.O.D. What am I
Notorious
talking about?
R.O.D. He has so many identities here. But dude, if you ever want to come back, we would love to have you sit in. Love to have you up here on the air again.
No, I would kidnap him. He would be my co-host shower person. only because I hijacked his show with Angelica last semester.
So that he could hijack your show with Bolt.
Exactly, and he's
Mm-hmm.
more than free. He's more than allowed to do that.
Exactly.
So we'll have Brandy come up next, and then we'll play a little bit of Kanye West, and then some Down in the DM.
Sounds good.
Stay tuned.
Bye.